Welcome to Second Chance, a new series where I take an extended look back at games that didn't originally click with me during my first hour with them. Here though, rather than committing to only an additional hour of playtime, I'm upping the ante and committing to an additional 5. You may be asking yourself why anyone would continue playing a game that they disliked, and that's a fair question. It started with a realization that some of my favorite games wouldn't pass the first hour test. An hour is not an insignificant amount of time to commit to trying something, but there are many games that open up and evolve the longer that you stick with them, and they don't even hint at that in the first hour. I have no plans on slowing down or stopping making 60 and 60 videos, but my hope is that by revisiting select games, I'll be able to find some kind of redeeming quality that wasn't apparent during the first hour. Maybe it'll be a favorite of yours that didn't capture me when I first tried it, or maybe it really will just be a dud, and no amount of additional time will change my opinion. Back in my initial impressions, I said that I wasn't interested in playing A Hat in Time anymore on console, largely due to the fact that the frame rate was capped at 30 frames per second. That opinion hadn't changed, but thankfully, a patch was recently released that bumped the frame rate up to a smooth 60 frames per second, so I figured it was time to jump back in. Unfortunately, after booting up, I didn't see any additional smoothness in gameplay. I dug around in the menus and eventually found the performance boosting toggle. But, due to a bug in the Xbox version, I couldn't get it to actually do anything. Being a man of my word though, since I'd already started my timer, I kept going anyway. Nothing really managed to change my impression that this one is a bit rough around the edges. I mean, a broken toggle exemplifies that well. However, the thing that started to endear it to me was by just how much it was willing to evolve and change what kind of challenges it presented the player. It went from having me turn off valves that were spewing lava, to conducting a parade while jumping rooftop to rooftop, to exploring a haunted mansion where I had to hide from the giant creepy lady. She may not be 9.5 feet tall in this game, but these sections captured terror in a way that I rarely experience in games. Perhaps my favorite challenge though involved solving a murder on a train. Without spoiling too much, the shock of seeing this much blood in this kind of game was real. The humor in this mission had me laughing out loud on multiple occasions, and the noir stylings that everything was packaged in was a real treat. In addition to the entertaining level stories, the game also features some excellent bonus content as well. As you progress through the game, time rifts open up and are teased by a photo on the level select screen. If you can locate where the photo was taken, you'll be transported to a linear platforming challenge. These kinds of Easter egg hunts are always a favorite of mine, and the challenges they unlock were a highlight. The platforming itself was never too difficult, and that's largely in part to the responsive and forgiving controls. While I could go on with many more positive things to say about each of the levels, there's one key area where they don't hold up, and that has to do with navigation on the non-linear levels. Allow me to go off on a tangent for a moment. A main defining characteristic of early 3D platformers is the adherence to the Disneyland castle premise. In Disneyland, the giant castle in the middle of the park isn't there just to be an attraction. Its primary function is arguably to act as an anchor that guests can use to orient themselves with. That way, no matter where you go in the park, you can just look up and easily figure out how to get to where you want to go next. There are examples of games using this principle for decades now. It's so powerful and seamless that Naughty Dog has even adapted the idea for their completely linear games. Wordlessly being able to orient a player without the use of a map is huge. Bringing it back to 3D platformers, let's take a look at both Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie and how they orient players. Both are considered standout examples of the 3D platformer genre, and it's no coincidence that they both begin in a wide open area at the base of a mountain. They give players time to acclimatize to a level before the real challenges begin. In fact, in both games, most of the levels feature the same idea, just in different thematic locations. These games are especially relevant too, because they're also listed as inspiration for A Hat in Time. Regrettably, A Hat in Time ignores the lessons they teach. There is no open area to get your bearings, nor are there clearly identifiable key landmarks either. Instead, the game opens in a dimly lit alleyway. You're egged on by another character almost immediately and asked to chase them. The intention is to give players a tour of the level that they'll be exploring soon. But the effect is that you're so focused on not losing sight of the mysterious person that no comprehension of the world is taking place. In fact, even after spending extended time with the game, I can't tell you where this location is in comparison to this one. The level consists of many smaller platforming challenges, that are undeniably enjoyable to complete. But without an orientation point, it's easy to become lost, and they begin to feel pointless, and that you're not working towards a goal. And the same can unfortunately be said about every level in the game. The lack of key landmarks doesn't make A Hat in Time a bad game. It just means it's not as good as it could be, and also that it loses something by not allowing players to quickly and easily grasp world layouts. But at the end of the day, am I glad that I stuck it out and played more? In this case, yeah. I had a lot more fun than I did during my first hour. It's not perfect, and definitely doesn't top my list of favorite games ever, but it gave me an enjoyable evening and provided some really fantastic moments. The fact of the matter is, the later levels are just way more interesting than the first one is. I could go on a bit about how inconsistent the pacing was, or how the visuals never quite appealed to me, or how the health and lives system is nearly completely pointless. But the truth is, the game is more than a sum of its parts. It expands well beyond what was in the first hour, and even manages to be genuinely funny, tense, and riveting at different points. The negatives begin to matter less and less, as my curiosity piqued more and more to see what was around the next bend. Thank you so much for watching. This month was the channel's 2-year anniversary, and in that time I've given impressions on just shy of 200 games. If you think I missed out on a great one, and didn't give it enough of a chance by only playing the first hour, or maybe you just want to torture me by forcing me to stick with a game that I loathe, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'm adding a variety of voting perks that you can use to help me shape the content on this channel. I can honestly say that I wouldn't still be uploading if it wasn't for you, and really truly appreciate all of the support you have shown me, especially those who have made it this far into the video. So with that, I suppose there's only one thing left to say. You know what to do.